Hi, hello, I'm Julian Greystoke, and occasionally I like books. It's been a while since I've done book reviews, so I decided to do a couple today, and I figured I would start out with a book that I actually enjoyed, because sometimes that does happen. Some people might be tempted to say Julian doesn't like anything, but I do. Sometimes it takes a little while to find the roses among the thorns for me. The book that I enjoyed is called Small Favors, and I will now read you the synopsis from Goodreads. Ellery Downing lives in a quiet town of Amity Falls in the Blackspire mountain range. 5 narrow peaks stretching into the sky like a grasping hand, bordered by a nearly impenetrable forest from which early townsfolk fought off devils in the woods. To this day, visitors are few and rare, but when a supply party goes missing, some worry that the monsters that once stalked the region have returned. As fall turns to winter, more strange activities plague the town. They point to a tribe of devilish and mystical creatures with the promise to fulfill their residents' deepest desires, however grand and impossible, for just one small favor. But their true intentions are much more sinister, and Ellery finds herself in a race against time before all of Amity Falls, her family, and the boy she loves go up in flames. So, this book has a lot of elements for me personally to enjoy. It checked a lot of my personal boxes. One thing that got me excited right away is seeing the description of winter, small town, trapped. I love it when people are trapped somewhere and they have no communication or very little communication with the outside world and they just have to figure out what's happening to them. There was this supernatural element, this mystery, and this like side of things with the one small favor, bargaining with the people of the village. And that let me down a little bit, but I'll get to that hopefully. I'm just winging it again for this review, so hopefully I'll remember to get to that. The main thing that I really liked about this story that actually put off some readers, so it seems like you're either going to love it or hate it, is the slow burn nature of this story. This story is not a mile a minute, it's not in a rush, and for this particular tale, that pacing works perfectly. You get to know the town, you get to know Ellery and her siblings, you come to find like these people who they are as a town, and you slowly watch the deterioration. Like every moment you're waiting to see what new little thing is going to come up that will hint at something bigger and more sinister. Thing about me, I love dread. I love that feeling of like something is coming, something is coming. I love that in a book, and if a book can give that to me, I am definitely very excited about it, and this one did. This book also gave me scenes to get to know the characters and to just vibe with them sometimes, and I personally think that's really important in such a character-driven story. But a lot of readers have pointed out that it was maybe too slow of a burn for them, so if you don't like those kinds of stories that really take their time, this might not be the one for you. But that part I loved, and the building, and the just like little hints about what was to come, and keeps you guessing, like I'm on the edge of my seat, like what is it? My two theories were fae or aliens. Could have gone either way. There's also lots of religious undertones because this is sort of a historical fantasy, so I don't think that this town like ever actually existed. I don't know if the location ever actually existed, but it feels very much like sort of an old school sort of Appalachian people kind of thing where you've got a very isolated group of people who moved there, facing many dangers to move there years ago, and now they are just kind of like stuck there and isolated from the rest of the world. And like it said, one of their caravans to go get supplies goes missing, and as you can imagine, bad things have happened to that caravan. So it's just like it gets you right away, it hooks you with like what's going on, what's in the woods, what did their ancestors face, and was it real, and also does it have to do with religion, because religion ties in a little bit, because like I said again, it's got that historical feel. So there is Christianity involved as well. So overall, yeah, the main things I liked about the story was the tone, the feel, the pacing. I also really like the main character of Ellery. She is the eldest sister of a family of 5, like she has a twin brother, 2 sisters, yes, 2 younger sisters, and I related a lot to Ellery feeling like she had all this responsibility on her shoulders, feeling responsible for her younger siblings and her brother, because even though her brother's the same age as her, he is kind of a fail face. And so it's really up to Ellery to keep the family together, to keep them moving. She is the responsible, dedicated one, and I'm like, same girl. Not that I've had to keep my family going nearly as much as she has, but as the eldest sibling of so many siblings, it can feel that way sometimes. And it feels like a lot of responsibility, so I vibed with Ellery, and I liked all of her siblings. I do wish we had one really good moment with her and her twin brother that like showed us their relationship and how close they are as twins, but unfortunately, because of the nature of the story and the way that things were going, the brother became more and more distant as the story went on for plot reasons, and because we didn't have the strongest buildup of them together at the beginning, it wasn't as sad and emotional as it could have been. I feel like we needed more than just one scene to really feel their relationship together, because there's something that happens to the brother at the end that should feel devastating, that should feel like a blow, and it goes by like whew. The other sisters, I like understood them. Uh-oh, my memory card's running out of space. I gotta go do that. I will say that the younger sister could get a little bit annoying sometimes. It definitely did not quite get past that feeling of this is an adult writing a child, this is an adult trying to write the way that children talk, and it wasn't quite there for me. She was kind of an annoying character, which is too bad because I wanted to like her, and it felt like it was so close, but unfortunately this author didn't quite pull it off. Now I'm gonna go empty my memory card. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
Okay, we're back. I think there might be a train going by. Anyway, I think I've covered most of the things that I liked about this story. Yes, there is a train going by. Hi, train. I think I've covered most of the things I liked about this story. Let's talk about some things that I didn't. Because even if I really like a story, there are still going to be aspects that I don't love. And I think it's okay to recognize that there are definitely still going to be things that we don't love in books that we enjoy. The first one, unsurprising for me, is there's an incredible amount of violence against animals in this book. Especially at the beginning, there's a very upsetting scene with the horse. Yeah, not fun. There's a lot of mutilation. There's a lot of body horror. The body horror ramps up to be more for humans toward the end of the book, but at the beginning it's more animal related. So do go in knowing that. Body horror doesn't put me off of a book, but it is helpful to know, like to expect it. I will also say that I didn't love the romance. It got there in the end. At first I was like, no, don't ship it. And towards the end I was like, okay, ship it a little. But also the direction that the plot took, I was kind of disappointed. And maybe I'll explain that in a little spoilery section. But the romance for me was a bit of a miss. So I forgot to go back in this video and explain this part, so we'll do it just right here. Spoilery section, very brief, talking about the romance. Spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so at the end we find out that the boyfriend was, unsurprisingly, I mean everyone saw this coming a mile away, one of the creatures that's causing all of the problems. The thing that bothered me is that it felt like the author kind of copped out. Like, he was a victim and he didn't want to do this, and he was trapped here by the evil queen of his people, just a worker bee, you know, if you could go with the bee metaphor, which this book does. And I really was hoping that it would turn out that he was like a fey creature. He was malicious at one time. Maybe hanging out with her had made him like feel human love, or maybe I would have actually really liked it if at the end it turned out that he was bad and he went back to being bad and he was never really in love with her. He was just manipulating her. I would have been on board with that, honestly, but I know that probably wouldn't have sold. That kind of romance probably wouldn't have sold, instead of just being a human who had bad things happen to him magically, and then he was suddenly and rather easily free of those things. There were also certain relationships in the book, like the relationship with the main character and her brother and the main character and her best friend, that I felt could have been fleshed out more for the impact that they were supposed to have later in the story. If we got more scenes at the beginning that were the main character with either of these two characters, so that we could really feel their relationship, so that when stuff starts to happen and the relationship starts to break down, it hurts more, because it felt like such a plot point in a story that is so personal and so character driven, and that really made me sad. There's also a couple of characters that appear sort of towards the middle of the book, and they are important to the story, and they have information that the main character needs for the story to progress, but they are also kind of glazed over. It's interesting when this author decides to kind of glaze over a character, and it's frustrating to me because it's like, I know that this author can do it, can make me care about these people, so like, make me care about these people. There's even opportunity, like these characters have to stay with Ellery and her siblings over the winter, and I thought, okay, now we're gonna get to know more about them. We're gonna have a scene where they're like all sitting around the fire and they just talk and get to know each other, and instead we get nothing. And then we get a little bit towards the end, but it feels very perfunctory and like, oh, this is where the plot needed to go, so now we need these characters. And I was like, missed opportunities. This book was so enjoyable that it makes me really sad when I see ways that it could have been even better. It could have been perfect. Like, I think I gave this book like a 4.5 because it wasn't quite perfect. There were a couple of balls that I felt were dropped, and that was really disappointing. The other thing that bothered me, and this is like maybe a slight spoiler, is the theme of the small favors. I was waiting for that to be sort of revealed at some point, and it really wasn't for an incredibly long time. I mean, barely was, even at the end of the book, where you get the realization that everything is happening because of these like small favors, which I don't think is too much of a spoiler because it's on the back of the book, but the actual book does not get to that for such a long time, and it feels almost a little bit like an afterthought when it seemed like it was going to be such an important theme of the book, and in fact it is the title of the book. It was disappointing how little it actually felt like it mattered when we got to the end of the story. Like, it did matter, but I wish it had been woven into the story a lot better.
This is maybe a mild spoiler. What I really wanted was at the end, when it was revealed about the small favors, that we got to have a better understanding of how they worked and what people had asked for, because there were several things that happened where I was like, okay, this will be explained eventually. What did the person ask for that caused this thing in the story to happen? And we never found out. Like, there were like 2 people, maybe 3. We found out what favor they had asked for and then what it had caused as a result of what they had asked for. And I really wanted to know, like, what some of these, especially, like, what had her brother asked for. But we never found out, I don't think, unless I missed it.
There are definitely some things that are woven into the story really well. I like the part with the luck objects, like the rabbit's foot and stuff like that. You don't really know exactly how they're going to play in, but then when you get the payoff, you're like, oh, nice. Oh, yeah. I will say that the ending of this book, if you do not like an open ending, this is not the book for you. This ending just sort of stops. The characters get through the climax, and then it's over. There's very little falling action. It's just done. You have no idea what happens to them. You have no idea what happens to some key characters that left the story earlier on. So if you are bothered by an unsatisfying ending, this might not be the book for you. Personally, I really wish that the author had written an epilogue where those people who do like an abrupt open ending can leave it at that, but those of us who maybe wanted a little bit more closure for the characters could go on to the epilogue. I personally would have preferred that. There is a very mild Rumpelstiltskin element to this book, and someone said that this is supposed to be a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I don't think it really achieved that. So if you heard, hey, this is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, read it for that. Don't. You're going to be disappointed. If I'd have gone in like knowing that, I would have been really disappointed because there's only one very small element that's Rumpelstiltskin-esque, other than the small favors thing, which really could be like anything. Like I said, the fae, whatever. I won't tell you what the creatures turn out to be, but that was a little bit disappointing, that element of it. I do really wish that that element was tied more closely to the climax, because we kind of get that element out of the way and then the climax happens. And it just, again, this book is so close to being like perfect for me. It's disappointing in the places where it drops the ball. I can see how it really could have been like a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, gold stars all around for me, and it was so close, but it just didn't quite get there. But if you love a slow burn with a very relatable main character and a feeling of creeping dread throughout, this might be the book for you. I do recommend it, even in the ways it did disappoint me. Also, there were bees in it, and this is like the second book I've read somewhat recently that involved beekeeping, and I don't know what the universe is trying to say, but I should probably start keeping bees.
Not the bees! Not the bees!
I did know that the bees were like thematic to the story, and I kind of understood why, but again, I wish that they had tied in just a little bit more, especially at the ending. Like, I kind of got what the author was going for, but at the same time, I wish that it had been a little bit stronger. I guess that's my whole thing for this book, is like, I love what the author was doing and what they were going for, and I just wish it had been a little bit stronger, but ultimately, I did enjoy my time. So, what do you think? Did you read Small Favors? If you did, comment below and let me know. Or are you interested in reading it now? I hope I have enticed a few people, even with the flaws in this book. If you're looking for something else to read, you can check out my books. They're for sale now on Amazon. And Especially Boots is a bit of a slow burn, though it is not creeping dread. It's a lot more of a cozy, pleasant kind of story. Although that doesn't mean there's no action in it. There's also lots of that. So check it out if you're interested. Check out the rest of my channel. I have lots of other book reviews, so you're bound to see me talking about something that you've read. Don't forget that you can support me on Patreon, and I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, patrons. Patrons like Jessica, KJ, LaFone, Amanda, Unicorn Jenny, Celia, Neon, Taya, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah. So this month we have another new patron, and I like to do a special shout out if they have anything they'd like promoted, such as books they've written, websites they run, blogs, vlogs, anything like that. But Jessica doesn't have anything like that, but she did request that I say hi to her kids. So Jess, go get them, and here we go. Hi guys, it's Julian, the one whose art that you really like. I do those cool dragon paintings that you guys like. I hope that you're having a great day and having a lot of fun.